So, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for the sixth session in the series, Abraham Joshua Heschel, Human Dignity as a Divine Concern by Dr. Dror Bondi. Dr. Bondi is dedicated to bringing Abraham Joshua Heschel's thought to Israel, transitioning his words into Hebrew, and transforming Israel by his spirit. He holds a doctorate in Jewish thought from Bar Ilan University and is a popular lecturer in a variety of institutions, especially at Machon Kerem of the David Yelling College of Education. Dr. Bondi lives with his family in the community of Urban Kibbutz Beit Israel in Jerusalem, a community of religious and non-religious Jews who unite together in social and spiritual activism. And now, without delay, I'll turn it to you, Dr. Bondi.
Thank you, Evie. Okay, last time we met the way Heschel read the Bible, the prophets, in order to shape, to explain his thought about human dignity. Yes, he spoke about the divine concern, about how the prophets felt the love of God, the care of God to every human being. And today we continue to see how he found the sources of human dignity in the rabbis, in the sages of the Mishnah, of the Talmud. I believe that you know that he wrote a huge book about the philosophy of the rabbis. The name of the book is Torah min hashamayim. It is his only Hebrew book. He wrote in 4 languages, and most of his works were written in English, but he wrote only also in German, in Yiddish, and in Hebrew. And it's quite amazing that one person can write in 4 languages, and especially this book in Hebrew is amazing. It's an amazing book because it's not only Heschel didn't write it in modern Hebrew. He tried to write it in the Hebrew of the Mishnah.
Oh my goodness!
As if he part of the project of the rabbis, as if he respond to their thought, not only by his spirit, but also by his language. And he wrote this unbelievable huge book, more than 1,000 pages. He wrote it's include 3 volumes. He wrote it in the middle of all his efforts for human rights in the United States. Yes, in the same time in March, when he marched with Martin Luther King, before the march and after the march, he came back to his study room and learned and immersed himself in the thought of the ancient rabbis of the Mishnah 2,000 years ago, in order to find there the contribution of Jewish philosophy to our time. It is a very unique book, not only by its language, but also by his main claim. A lot of people, rabbis today, or academic scholars, relate to the rabbis as an experts of halakha, as an expert of Jewish law, as if the rabbis of the Mishnah of the ancient Israel have no philosophy, like the rabbis of today. They are expert in Jewish law, and before the prayer of Shabbos, they say something in philosophy. Heschel tried to show in this work that they have philosophy and that a lot of their disputes, as you know, the Mishnah and the Gemara, the books of the rabbis from ancient Israel, these works have a lot of disputes in them, as machlokot between the rabbis, and he tried to show that all these disputes are part of a dispute in a philosophy. He tried to show that there is the school of Rabbi Akiva, the mystic leader of Bar Kochva revolt against the Romans, and there is another school of Rabbi Ishmael, which is rational school, which is non-mystic, which have critic reading of the Bible, and this is a huge project of volume A of this work to show that these schools have different philosophies. In the second volume, he tried to show that these schools have also a deep dispute about the faith that the Torah came from heaven. What is the meaning of believing of this faith that the Torah came from heaven? And in the last volume, he wanted to speak about the very philosophy of disputes, the very philosophy of pluralism in the rabbis, the thought of the rabbis. Unfortunately, he got his heart attack before he accomplished the third volume. And this volume was published by his students only 30 years, almost 20 years after he died. But I discovered that these students made censorship, this is the word. They didn't publish all his materials. They didn't publish all the manuscripts that Heschel intended to publish in the third volume. And I hope in the next months, in this winter, I hope to publish a new edition of this work with all the manuscripts that were omitted by Heschel's students. And so today I want to show you how he found the sources of Ztelem Elohim, of a special meaning of the likeness of God in the thought of Rabbi Akiva. It's only one chapter from this work, but a very meaningful one. Rabbi Gordon Tucker translated this work into English, so I brought the two editions. In one side, here on the right side, you can see the draft of the new edition, and in the left, this is the translation, as you can see, edited and so translated from the Hebrew with commentary by Gordon Tucker and Leonard Levin. I believe that you know that Gordon Tucker is one of the leaders of the conservative movement in New York, and he dedicated a lot of years. It's a very it's not easy work to translate such a huge and special work, but the fact is that he's also he also make change in the original. It was edited. It's not a pure translation. So let's start to read the chapters that about our topic today. I believe that it will be easier to you to read from the English, right? But as my costume, I will be grateful if someone can read English. All right. So, Brian, do you want to read the doctrine of God's image? Please.
Humanity is great and precious in God's sight, according to Rabbi Akiva. How so? Precious are humans, that they were created in God's image. A special affection they have in that it was made known to them that they were created in the image, as it is written, "In his image did God make man." The person is a reflection of a supernal realm. The human image below corresponds to the divine image above. According to Rabbi Akiva, he who spills human blood, Scripture regards such a person as though he had diminished the divine image, as is written, "Whoever sheds the blood of a man, by man shall his blood be shed, for in his image God made man." The Midrash cites a parable. A mortal king visited one of his provinces, and the people put up a statue and struck coins in his honor. Sometime later, they tore down his statue, destroyed his coins, and thus diminished his image.
Thank you. Let's stop here.
Okay.
This is it's a very powerful midrash, right? When you when someone murder human being, yes, he diminished the image of God. Yes, maybe it should be with a capital H, because it's not only about the king. Yes, it's about the God. Why? What is the meaning of Ztelem Elohim, of the image of God? And how Rabbi Akiva learned from this pasuk? Yes, whoever sheds the blood of man, by man shall his blood be shed. How we learn from this? Of course, the rest of the pasuk is, "For in his image did God make man," but how we learn from this pasuk that the image of God, the meaning of the image of God is what is the link between the image of God to the shed of blood? How Rabbi Akiva learned from this pasuk that the murder of a human being is diminishing the image of God? I think that we should look in the Hebrew original of this pasuk in order to understand it better. If you can see this pasuk here in Hebrew, I will read Hebrew. I can read without an Israeli accent, or maybe with. "Shofech dam ha'adam, ba'adam damo yishafech." This is the original pasuk. "Shofech dam ha'adam, ba'adam damo yishafech." How Rabbi Akiva learned from this pasuk the deep connection between the image of God and the image of human being. Maybe because the harmonic structure, this pasuk, as you can see, shofech, this is the first word, is just like the sixth word, yishafech. And then the second word, dam, is like the fifth word, damo. And the third is like the four. You can see it's a very harmonic structure of this word. These words, shofech dam adam, ba'adam damo yishafech, as if there is a mirror in the middle of as if there is a mirror after the third word, yes, and you can see it as a reflection. Shofech dam adam, ba'adam damo yishafech. So the human being is like a reflection of the image of God. So when someone murder a human being, he diminishes the image of God. And maybe even Rabbi Akiva read this pasuk as if shofech dam adam ba'adam damo yishafech, as if this word ba'adam is not about the human being, but about the ultimate human being. Yes, as if when you shed the blood of human being, you diminished the moishafech of who? Of the ultimate of God. God is if the second word ba'adam is about God himself. As if God is, yes, if human being was created in the likeness of God, so God is also like human being. Yes, and when you shofech dam adam, when someone shed the blood, whoever sheds the blood of man, not by man shall his blood be shed. Rabbi Akiva read this pasuk as if it was written, whoever sheds the blood of man shed also the blood of the ultimate man. Yes, shofech dam adam, it's a mirror. When you shofech damim of human being, you diminished the image of God. It's very extreme reading and interpretation of the image of God. The image of God is not the ability to think, as Maimonides, as a Rambam explained. Yes, it's not only the likeness of God. We the human beings, we are like God not only by our ability to think, but we just like Him by our very existence. Yes, when someone murder human being, he diminished. Yes, the image of God is not the ability to think. When someone murder human being, not only takes his ability to think, it takes his very life. So our very life is like our very life. This is the image of God. Yes, so this is a very powerful concept of human dignity. Yes, when you shed a blood of human being, you might hurt God. Yes, Brian, you want to say something?
Yes, I think also in the first paragraph, it it's it is the importance of Ztelem Elohim is also found in the idea that man is actually given knowledge of the fact that human beings were created in God's image, so that they know this in advance. So therefore, the idea of shedding blood of another, this should be central in what it is that they realize in doing it. And so Rabbi Akiva can come to that conclusion also because of, not just because of the way in which the pasuk is written, but also in the realization that man knows that he has been created, or humankind knows that they've been created in the image of God.
Yes, yes. The it's not like the Rambam. It's not the ability to think. The miracle is that we can understand the likeness of God. It's not the ability to think itself, but the ability to understand the likeness. Okay, let's continue. Be ready. It's a very powerful saying now. Who wants to read?
Where are we?
Thank you. We
quoted above the example of Hillel the elder, who washed in the bathhouse because it was a mitzvah to keep clean the body that was created in the likeness of God. For Hillel, the doctrine of man's divine image clarifies the nature of human greatness. For Rabbi Akiva, it teaches us about the Holy and Blessed One and the extent to which human deeds affect what happens above, diminishing the image. Moreover, the expression itself, et hademut, the image, makes it evident that its purpose is not to indicate the nature of humanity, but to point to the existence of the divine. It is in this sense that Rabbi Akiva taught, because of his sin, man has no possibility to know what the divine image is.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very non-regular explanation of the likeness of God. Yes, let's start from Hillel Zaken, Hillel the elder. He edited here the original code. Let's read it in the Hebrew. I hope you can understand. If no, I will try to translate into English. Let's read the original. שבשעה שהיה נפטר מתלמידיו, when Hillel the elder said goodbye to his students, היה מהלך והולך עמם. He was walk with them. אמרו לו תלמידיו, his students told him, Rabbi, להיכן אתה הולך? Rabbi, where you are going? אמר להם, he told them, לעשות מצווה, to make a mitzvah. אמרו לו, they told him, וכי מה מצווה זו? What is your special mitzvah that you left, that you are leaving us here and you are going to another place? אמר להם, he told them, לרחוץ בבית המרחץ. Yes, to make a shower in the bathroom. אמרו לו, so his students told him, וכי זו מצווה היא? We didn't read it in the Shulchan Aruch. where it was written in the Torah that it's a mitzvah, it's a commandment to take a shower. אמר להם, he told them, הן, yes. מים אייקונים של מלכים. If icons of kings, שמעמידים, that you place אותו בבתי תיאטראות ובתי קרקסאות, that you place him in theater, etc. מי שנתמנה עליהם הוא מורכן ושופן, the someone who cleaned these icons of the king, I am, אני שנבראתי בצלם ודמות, I am that was created in the likeness of God, in the image and likeness of God, על אחת כמה וכמה. So I have to clean myself also like the someone who cleaned the icon of the king. What is the link between clean myself and the image of God? You can see that Hillel, the elder, saw the image of God in the very existence of human being, include the body. Yes, the image of God is the reason to take a shower. Yes, according to Maimonides, the image of God is our brain. So what is the link to take a shower? Now, according to Hillel the Elder, it's a very extreme saying that our body is is like the body of God. What Hillel the Elder tried to say here? Yes, you can see it's non-regular saying. Yes, we Rambam told us, Maimonides taught us that God has no body. What Hillel the Elders thought. How his shower is clean, the icon of God. But then Heschel added that for Rabbi Akiva it's even more extreme than Hillel the Elder, because for Hillel, the doctrine of man's divine image clarifies the nature of man's greatness. He only spoke about the greatness of man, that we should take our very existence, even our body, as an image of God. But for Rabbi Akiva, it teaches us about the Holy and Blessed One and the extent to which human deeds affect what happens above, diminishing the image, right? When you hurt a human being's body, when you take the life of human beings, you diminish the image of God. It's not only about the nature of man, it's also about the nature of God. Yes, it's a very extreme saying and a very powerful meaning of human dignity. It's a very, theologically, it's extreme, but the implication to the moral understanding is also extreme. You should behave to human beings as the icons of God. As when you behave like a racist to another human being, it's a heresy to God Himself, right? It's a very powerful concept of the human dignity. What do you say? Do you know this? Do you know these sources? For me, it was a chidush to understand that the Rabbi says such radical concept of human being, human dignity. What do you say?
Why did you think it was radical?
It's radical after the, on 800 years ago, in the last 800 years, Jews can't think about the body of God. It's one of the 13th. It's one of our credo, right? Of Shlosei Karim, that God is no body, and that's why Maimonides taught us that human dignity is about our ability to think. And now, suddenly, Heschel found for us much more powerful concept of human dignity, which is not only about our ability to think, about our brain, but but we are the icons. Our very life is the icons of God. Yes.
Does he mean this metaphorically, though? I mean, Rambam is talking about it in terms of a sense of idolatry, and Heschel seems to be speaking about this metaphorically. That's my interpretation.
Yes. No. For Rabbi Akiva, for Hillel HaZaken, Hillel the Elder, it's not a metaphoric saying. He is going to make a shower, according to this saying. Yes, he felt that take a shower, it's a mitzvah. It's not a metaphor. It's an action. Yes, he behaved in this way, not an idea. Yes,
No, I meant, I'm sorry, I meant,
Allegory, maybe.
no, that it was well, that for Heschel it is a metaphor, that for what Hillel is referencing, I think, is saying, that if there's purity in God, you need to be able to clean the body that you inhabit. That the cleanliness is a part of the idea of purifying yourself. And there are instances, not only in Judaism, but in other religions as well, of the idea of cleaning oneself in order to be able to be um, to purify yourself.
if it was only about purification, his students have no questions. The students were shocked. You spoke about the very cleaning of the body, not about purification. Yes, they told them, yes, I am speaking about the very cleaning of the body, because my body is like the icon of God. Yes, it was a very astonishing for them, for his students. And Rabbi Akiva is even more extreme. And you know that, let's continue to read, and maybe skip for a little bit. And here you can read here this paragraph, this striking contrast. Mm-hmm. And then you can find another implication of Rabbi Akiva understanding, which is not an allegory, right? Does someone want to read this paragraph, this striking contrast?
I can read it.
Thank you, Annie. Thank you.
This striking contrast in the evaluation of human worth is reflected in Rabbi Akiva's view of capital punishment. In the Mishnah, we read, a Sanhedrin that executes one person in 7 years is called tyrannical. Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah taught 1 in 70 years. Rabbi Tarfon and Rabbi Akiva declared, had we been in the Sanhedrin, no one would ever have been executed. But Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel said they would have increased the number of murderers in Israel. Should I stop?
Here is a very interesting dispute.
It is interesting.
Yes, Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel want to make capital punishment in order to prevent murders. Yes, but Rabbi Akiva said, I will never make a capital punishment. Why is so extremist? Why not? There is a murder here. Someone murder a policeman, right, or something like this. Why not punishment by death? Why Rabbi Akiva is so can't accept capital punishment? Can't accept killing someone as his punishment? Why Rabbi Akiva is so extreme? According to the previous paragraphs, we can understand his law. Why he will never give someone a capital punishment? Why? Because even as a judge, he can take the life of human beings, because every human being's life is an icon of God. Yes, but Rabbi Gamliel told him there are murders here. You have to stop them. No, I can't take the life of human beings. So here we can see that Rabbi Akiva thought has implications in his understanding of the law, yes, of the capital punishment. It's not only an allegory, something idea, metaphorically idea, but he used it to his who is behaving as a judge. Yes, he will never kill someone as a judge. Yes, do you understand what I mean? It's not only a philosophy. It changes his thinking about capital punishment.
Would he also be a conscientious objector then and never fight in a war? Are there places where he would take a life in a war?
As we know, Rabbi Akiva was the leader of the war.
I know. So apparently it's not. Oh, I was thinking actually of Heschel who wrote it, but yes, yeah, Rabbi Akiva. I know. So how did that relate then?
This is a problematic understanding of Rabbi Akiva. In another chapter, Heschel criticized Rabbi Akiva that he couldn't see this human dignity in the Romans, only in people who believe in God, but Rabbi found the universal understanding of human being in the other school, in Rabbi Ishmael's school, who saw every human being as equal, not made different between Jews and non-Jews. So Heschel, in one chapter you can see how we identify with Rabbi Akiva, and in another chapter you can see how we identify with Rabbi Ishmael. So, it's much more. This work is much more complicated. It's much more complicated work. You can see Heschel always went with Rabbi Akiva, and you can't say Heschel always go with Rabbi Ishmael. You have to every chapter you run from this view to this view, and you try to think what Heschel himself believes. It's not easy to understand always. Which one of these rabbis for which one of them he would vote.
Was Heschel Rabbi Heschel would he have been a conscientious objector? Did he oppose all killing of all kinds, or is he just expressing his interpretation of Rabbi Akiva here?
It's in the interpretation to Rabbi Akiva.
Okay, got it.
He told, I can't pray during the war in Vietnam. I can't pray because yes, in a free society, he said, if you are guilty, all are responsible. And if I have responsibility for the war in Vietnam, I can't pray. I can't pray because I see the blood on my own hand. He criticized the war in Vietnam.
Course. Yeah.
And he wrote in 43. He wrote that a man with a gun is like an animal without a gun. It was
in 1943.
Yes, during the World War II.
Really?
Even during the World War II, he was a pacifist. Yes,
I thought so. Nice, thank you.
But here he found in Rabbi Akiva saying a very powerful concept of human dignity. Maybe we can read another 2 paragraphs in which he tried to explain this philosophy. Here, let's start here. The ancients. Does someone want to read? Anyone?
I'll read.
Thank you, Judy. Please, the ancients.
Ancients saw the reflection of God in all existence. They believed that the different elements of reality were not hermetically self-contained and impermeable. They believed that the different elements of reality were not hermetically self-contained and impermeable. On the contrary, every element was a reflected light of the divine. All existence was a harmonious reality, its various elements in a mutual relationship. However, there were two approaches to this harmonious reality. One cosmological or immanental, the other transcendental. According to the former, the particular reflects the generality within the earthly realm. That is, the human microcosm corresponds to the macrocosm. But the transcendentalists taught that all the earthly elements had their counterpart in the supernal world. Thus, man's image and likeness were derived from above. The terrestrial man resembled heavenly man.
Thank you. It's a very complicated paragraph here, but Heschel tried to explain Rabbi Akiva's thought in a contradiction to much more earthly understanding. You know that there are thoughts that spoke about human being as a microcosm of the world. Yes, our eyes is like the eye of the world. Our back is like the back of the world. As if there is a reflection between the human being and the nature. But Rabbi Akiva, the transcendentalist, yes, he felt that the human being is not a reflection of the nature, but that the human being is a reflection of God, or as Heschel wrote in a very extreme saying, heavenly man. Yes, as if God is also like a human being. Yes, this is the mirror. Shofech dam Adam, human being, ba'adam, in the heavenly man, damo yishafech. There is reflection. Yes. We are post-Kantian, we are post-Kant, you know, Immanuel Kant, the famous modern philosopher. Immanuel Kant taught us that all the world is only a reflection of our eyes. Yes, there are the phenomenon. Yes, we can't see the world itself. All what we see is our own reflection, right? Kant. So kind of a short explanation of Kant. But Heschel say no, for Rabbi Akiva, for the ancients, not like the Kantian view. There is a mutual relationship between the world and human being and between God and human being. You are not human being, you are not the center of the, yes, as Kant said, I made a Copernican revolution. Yes, I bring the human being to be the center of the world. But Heschel said, no, for the ancients, human being, the human dignity is not based on the understanding that we are the center of the world, but vice versa, that we are a reflection of God. Yes, it's a very deep and short saying of the difference between our understanding that we learned from Kant and Immanuel Kant and the understanding of Rabbi Akiva. If you want to understand the rabbis, you should forget Kant for a moment and get into their own thinking. Yes, you are not the center of the world. You are a reflection for one approach, reflection of the world. For Rabbi Akiva approach, you are the reflection of God. It's not an allegory. Yes, it's a real mirror. It's a real mutual relationship. Yes. Can you understand me, or you have? I can explain.
Can I ask a question? I maybe missed something when you were talking about the sentence about the pasuk about, when man who spills blood, his blood will be spilled by man. And I didn't quite understand how you interpreted that, how Rabbi Akiva would interpret that, or how Heschel would interpret that, given that it seems to say that capital punishment is the right approach. If a person spills blood, his blood shall be spilled. But you translated differently, yes?
It's Gordon Tucker translated it differently, but I showed you the original to explain Rabbi Akiva's interpretation. Here I'm writing it right here to explain. You can see, as you can see, the
A, B, C, C, B, A.
B, exactly, right, exactly. There is a, let's find the, where I can find it here, this one. Yes, yes, this is a, yes, shofech. It's like shofech, damo is like, dam is like damo, and adam is like ba-adam. It's the opposite order of the words. Yes, you can see it. You can see it. So the original pasuk has very powerful structure, from which Rabbi Akiva learned that there is a mirror between a human being and God. And I added that maybe Rabbi Akiva read it as if it was written, Shofech dam adam, when you shed the blood of human being, ba-adam, in the heavenly human being, namely God, damo yishafech. You diminished the God himself.
Oh, I see. It's not a retribution at all. It's a reflection.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank you.
Rabbi John.
Thank you.
I'm not sure if you want to go in this direction, but since Heschel is teaching this, and he himself was a pacifist, how in the world, since he felt that way during World War II, did he feel about the fact that this would imply that the Nazis would have taken over the world, because there should have been no opposition, no fighting, no resistance? So how did he explain that?
The question is, what is our duty as Jews? Heschel believed that the Jews should be pacifist. In this time, in the 40s, even in the 50s, he didn't like Zionism, which taught the Jews to fight by weapons. No, he said, we the Jews have a duty. Okay, there is a war between the Nazis and the Western civilization, but the question is, what my duty as a Jew? And for Heschel, the Jews should be pacifists. The Jews shouldn't take weapons and be part of a war, but should be example for non-violent living. As you know, Martin Luther King also believed in non-violent
as did Gandhi, but there was a
Yes.
matter of context. And
Yes.
in the context of the Nazis, it was the Nazis' specific and most important target was to wipe the Jews off the face of the earth. And
Yeah.
so he knew that, and he lost much of his family. So
Yes.
I still don't understand. He would have been against the partisans fighting in the woods. He would have been against those who did use weapons, against the Nazis to survive. This is where my conflict lies. And maybe he had a way of reconciling this within himself. I don't understand it. You know,
Heschel afraid that if the Jews, if we will establish another national state in which we will think only about our surviving, there is a danger that in the end we will also occupy another nation in order to survive. So he believes that the deep war against the Nazis is not to take weapon and to shoot back, but to be an example for non-violent nations. This is the deepest war. Yes. And you can see in Rabbi Akiva saying, I will never, as a judge, I will never take the life of a murderer. Yes, I can't take a life of human being. I am the very opposite of the murder. It's much more easier as a judge to take the life of a murderer. This is a murder, I will take his life. No, Rabbi Akiva say, I am the very opposite of these murders. I will not take their life.
In other words, but there's a difference between defending yourself and serving as a judge over someone who's a murderer. There's a distinction between those two that I don't see reconciled here. I did look ahead. And I've always respected Heschel. That's why I'm here. But this I don't understand. In context, I respect his opinion alongside Martin Luther King and when they crossed the bridge together as pacifists. I respect that. But they had a battle that was winnable that way. But the Jews would have been wiped off the face of the earth, and that would have been, he's saying, don't fight back.
You know, I grew up here in Israel in a very right-wing family and society that was very critic about the Jews in the Holocaust. That they don't fight back, that they didn't fight back, that they went like how do you say it, like
sheep to the slaughter.
Yes, like sheep.
Which isn't true.
But Heschel say no, we didn't walk like a sheep. We simply the very opposite of fighting. We saved our soul. We will not fight back. We will be examples of the holiness of life. It's a very extremist saying. I understand you can't accept it, but he believed that this is our mission as Jews, to be example of non-violent nation. And you can see what happened today is when Israel have to fight back, we made a lot of mistakes, right? It's not easy to be here and not easy to be there.
Right.
Can I ask a question that builds on Rabbi Sachs's question? So, and it came up earlier in the discussion. Isn't Heschel, the English expression is cherry picking, that he's selectively choosing what it is out of Akiva that he wishes to demonstrate, but there's a contradiction in that because of what Rabbi Akiva actually does. And so, in the context of what Rabbi Sachs is saying is, in the context of judging another person and not being in favor of capital punishment, that does not extend to the idea of standing by and allowing yourself to be destroyed. And so does Heschel at some point deal with that? Because there's an inherent contradiction. Either he's selectively choosing out of Akiva which serves his purpose at this particular point in what he's writing, but seems to ignore the history that goes along with it.
No, he didn't say that Rabbi Akiva was a pacifist like himself, but as I explained, as I said before, in another chapter, he tried to explain that Rabbi Akiva didn't see the image of God in the Romans, yes, in the enemies who destroyed our temple. Yes, he didn't see in their likeness of God. And in this chapter, in the other chapter, when Heschel wrote about this, you can see how he criticized Rabbi Akiva, who can't see the image of God in the Romans, and how we prefer the view of Rabbi Ishmael, who felt the equality of all human beings. So this is how we explain the
So, but the difference also with, and we had talked about this, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, when we were talking about Heschel's position within the Second World War. He wasn't even talking about passive resistance in the way in which Martin Luther King and Gandhi was talking about. He was talking about the purpose of Jews was to teach the world about how they should behave in a way that would be in concurrence with the idea of what is holy, which is not exactly the same thing as the idea of passive resistance. So it seems as though what Rabbi Sachs is saying is true, which is you might be correct, in a philosophical sense, but you're also going to be gone. Because neither Gandhi nor King were talking about just sitting there and allowing yourselves to, or to have, to try to teach the other of the wrongness of their ways. It was actually the idea of using the violence and the inhumanity of the others as a, for lack of a better term, a weapon against those who are committing the violence and the injustice. But that's not what Heschel is saying, it seems. I may be wrong, but it seems like he's saying that it's far more even passive than that and only restricted to the idea of teaching the rest of the world as to how they should behave.
Thank you for your question. Unfortunately, we have to finish. It's the last minute, but let's give your question to stay as a question. Yes, and I have no answer to all the questions, and it's a complicated, right? It's not easy to be here or there. What I try to show today is how Heschel found sources for powerful concept of human dignity in the Mishnah, in the rabbis, in his book Torah Min Hashamayim. So we have to finish. I'm sorry, we can continue to speak all the night of me and all the.
Can we pick that up?
And I only want to thank you and to hope that we will meet next week. Our next class.
Okay.
Thank you, Evie. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Bondi. This was another wonderful class. I'm looking forward to the remaining class of this series next week. And thank you to everyone else who joined us today on Zoom, on Drisha Live, and on Facebook. We appreciate you joining us. We are going to continue our full program this Sunday at 10 a.m. with the 5th part of the multi-part series, Your Name Shall Be Great, the Abraham Narrative. The class is by Rabbi David Silber. In addition, we have many more classes happening all the time. You can find out more information as well as the registration links on our website at www.drisha.org/classes or watch live at www.drisha.org/live. Thank you again, Dr. Bondi, for this opportunity to learn with you and for everyone else who joined us. And we hope to see you at one of our next classes here at Drisha. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Lehitraot. Goodbye.